Five. Purple hair guy. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us again on SEO Fight Club. This is episode 87. We are going to talk about the most common cause of stolen content. But before we do that, we'll get into a few minutes of boilerplate here. So, Clint, what can people find on SEO this week?
This week there was 4 news stories, actually pretty good, and one of them led us into our topic of discussion, which was content hubs, aka topic clusters, aka reverse silos, aka silos, and how to build those and the value of getting those out for local business specifically, since a lot of questions were about that. So I think it was a good show.
Very cool. And if you haven't heard about SEO this week, it's a YouTube show. You can find it by going to YouTube and searching for SEO this week. And it's a great show. Highly recommend it. Remember to subscribe because we don't make killer advertising dollars in the SEO niche. We require your subscriptions for making this content to be worthwhile because it really is just a labor of love. Dre isn't here, but he has a YouTube show called the SEO Video Show, and you should check it out. He does a lot of interviews with, just amazing SEOs, finds out their stories, finds out, how they did it, how they got to where they are, what tips and advice they give, just all kinds of things. And he's really the only show out there doing these kinds of in-depth interviews. So I really love it. It's a unique form of content where you can find out how people did it, what they had to do, what was it like, what tips they recommend. Check it out. He's very close to a very important milestone. He's about 100 subscribers away from having 1,000 subscribers. And that's a big milestone. You get a lot of new features when you get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you like his show, please remember to subscribe. We would love to get him over that 1,000 subscriber mark. And so, Lauren, you want to tell us about what's coming up?
Yeah, so if you don't have plans for tomorrow night, mark your calendar because there's an SEO test review. And this is Lee Witcher and the rest of the IMG testers going over all the tests that they've been running. This is always a great event, usually one of the highlights of my week, and I think a few other people. Then we have on Friday a new SEO pro tip with one of our members. This is going to be on schema. And then we have an ongoing contest in IMG, and it's a conversion rate optimization coaching with Stephen Greeley. And he is basically giving a month of free conversion rate optimization training. So if you're running any sort of paid ads, you have 20 conversions or more, and you want to double your conversion rate in a month, Stephen is going to help you do that. So go ahead, join IMG, fill out your profile, and comment on this post because this is a great opportunity.
Stephen is stupid smart in CRO. If you sign up for anything, you should sign up to try to win that. You're really doing your business harm if you're not trying to get some time with him.
Yeah, and if you've ever met him, he's so good at the CRO. He stands, probably better than 50% odds of getting you to abandon your career. So be forewarned. And if you're wondering what IMG is, it's our domain name. It's internetmarketing.gold, internetmarketing.gold. So check it out. All right, so back to our topic. So we're going to talk about stolen content here. And I'm probably going to anger some people with my twist on it, but so be it. So Search Engine Roundtable had this article about Google investigating complaints of original content not ranking. And I read through it, and it was very reminiscent of many other experiences I had gone through with my own websites and with SEO clients. And it's like, okay, a lot of this is going to be a misfire. Some of this will be a real issue, but most of it won't be. And so I want to talk about that most of it. So the first thing is, for someone to want to steal your content and put it on another website, your content has to be amazing because, it's hard enough to get people to read your content, let alone download it and republish it somewhere else. That has to be just thoroughly amazing content to be that worthwhile. And the truth is, your content probably isn't that good. And I know my content isn't that good. My past employers' content isn't that good. I've seen Clint's content. It's better than my content, but it's still not so good that I'd want to download it and re-upload it somewhere else. Still doesn't meet that bar. So odds are something else is probably going on most of the time when people are saying these other sites over here are stealing my content. Which brings us to RSS. It's amazing that so many people know how to set up and configure WordPress, but they don't take the time to learn about what all the little checkboxes and settings do. And some of them are quite important. So RSS is a way of using XML feeds to syndicate your blog content across the web. And a lot of people don't understand how it works. So in WordPress, this usually appears under your reading settings. And so that's where you'll want to look for it. And the first thing is the syndication feeds show the most recent, number of items. So if you don't want your content showing up all over the web, you need to turn that number to 0. So by default, it's going to take your latest 10 stories and try to send them everywhere. So out of the box, if you don't want your content showing up on other websites, you need to change that setting. The other setting is for each post in a feed include, and the default is the full text. So not only is it syndicating your most recent 10 articles, it's syndicating the whole damn article. So you need to go in there and change that to the summary just in case something gets in the feed. You're only sending the first paragraph instead of the whole article. So that's, where you find this in WordPress. But let's talk about how this is tricking people into thinking that their content is stolen. So we have to look at RSS spam. And so what happens is you set up a blog and say, I'm going to write an amazing article. It's going to be the best article on this topic. So you write this keyword-rich content. And then usually by accident, most people will accidentally syndicate it through an RSS feed. So they publish that content out to the world. Now, all these nefarious sites that people are accusing of stealing content, the way they work is they search on Google for a keyword that they want content about. And then they have scripts that do this, and they visit the top 100 results and they look for RSS feeds. And so they visit those RSS feeds and they look for any posts that match the keywords that they want to publish content for. And so they find your RSS feed that you add on by default in WordPress. They find your keyword-rich post that matches the keyword they want content for. They take that RSS summary, put it on their website with a link back to your post. But if you add that default configuration, now that other website has the entire article you wrote on their website because you syndicated the full text. They didn't steal it. You accidentally published it everywhere. And I've had people, because I've had a number of things like auto blogs and things of that nature. In the Black Hat world, there's a lot of software out there that does this. I've had people contact me saying, I don't like my content being on your website. You need to take it down. And I go and look at it and I go, I can't take it down until you turn off RSS, because if I delete it, because you have RSS on, it's going to come right back within about 4 hours. So if you're someone out there that's doing link removal requests, you got to be aware of this, because you shouldn't even start to send out the link removal requests until you've checked those RSS settings. Have you guys ever encountered this?
Not specifically what you're talking about, like doing it on accident, but you mentioned white hat tool or black hat tools. There's also a pretty big white hat tool out there you can do this. And there's two of them that come to mind is IFTTT and Zapier. And you can set up this publishing on the fly based off of what you're doing. Yeah, there's actually a whole link building systems built around this whole idea of RSS.
Yeah, by itself, it's not Black Hat. It's just syndication. But so many people think that because they can install WordPress and start writing content, that makes them experts. And then they start accusing people of stealing their content when they haven't checked their settings and learn what they do.
Yep.
So down here at the bottom, I have a example of what an RSS feed looks like in the HTML. So this is the HTML that those scripts are looking for. And so we can see it as a type of RSS HTML or RSS XML, sorry. And here's the SE Roundtable feed. And the cool thing is that if you look for those feed URLs, you can often find all the websites that are syndicating their content. So these are the domains that are syndicating SE Roundtable's posts. And there are two common ways that people fall into this. One way is curation. So SE Roundtable is an example of curation. A lot of people say, oh, I want to find all the best sources of SEO news and I want to collate them into a single source. And so that's the curation thing, where somebody's saying, I want to pull all these great resources in one spot, and having them together is the thing of value. Then the other side is kind of like the auto bloggers, which is any match will do. I don't care what you say about my keyword. The fact that you said my keyword makes it human readable content about my topic, and any match will do, put it on my page. So those are kind of the two modes that you tend to generally see. And the curation ones tend to be kind of good, higher quality, it's industry news type things. And the any match will do will often get you some suspicious link warnings out of Google Search Console if you get into a bad keyword zone. And so a lot of times people get upset when they encounter their website in these any match will do scenarios. At that point, they start yelling at the domains, why are you stealing my content? And the answer to that is you're syndicating it, turn that off. So we mentioned the suspicious links. You can get scary warnings. You can even get algorithmic penalties if the links are bad enough. You can get manual actions. And again, don't ask for link removals from websites until you've double checked your RSS settings, because they'll put in the effort to remove it. But if it pops back in an hour later, that whole exchange was worthless. You've just wasted time and the link will come back. And the other thing that people don't think to consider, this is an out during the reconsideration request. Google, I just accidentally had my RSS syndication turned on. That's how most of these links got created. I've turned that off and we're sending out link removal requests, but it was just an RSS configuration accident. It's a legitimate happening. It happens to people. So if it happens to you and those settings were on, that's a great story to tell in the reconsideration request as to why those links got created. Nearly 100% of the cases of content theft that I've seen professionally have been, accidental syndication or self-inflicted cannibalization. There are occurrences of theft, but they tend to be fairly rare. When I've seen professional theft, it's usually been around like a really nice content database. Like maybe it's a database for a video game fans, and you have a database of all the data and the images and all of that stuff. And people go, wow, that's amazing data. I want that database to make a site like this. And they create scripts, they download your database, and then you have a competitor. Those tend to be the types of things, but those real cases tend to be of already successful, high quality sites. So if you have a brand new site and people are stealing your content like before you even have traffic, odds are it's not people stealing your content, it's these scripts. And so I mentioned accidental cannibalization. And you see that when, a website messes up their hosting config, and they might mirror their main website on multiple domains because of that configuration. You also see it when you have a website that's like a store and a blog, and they target the same keywords in both. So you can see things of that nature going on as well. But definitely with the accidental, with the hosting configs, I've definitely seen people configure extra domain names and just not knowingly realize that they've cloned their whole website on a new domain. Other issues could be missing canonicalization on your website. So if you don't use canonical tags, lots of weird things can happen. Accidentally blocking Google. So say, for example, you accidentally had syndication on, and then all of a sudden you tell Google that, don't index my website. You mess up your robots.txt. What's going to happen is that you will fall out of search, but your content is out there on the web. So the next highest ranking, highest page rank copy, syndicated copy of your content takes your place. And you're like, hey, these domains stole my content. No, you have a technical SEO issue. And once you correct it, you'll take your rightful place. But if your content was syndicated, there's always going to be a next in line if you fall out. Temporary server outages can trigger that too. If you have syndicated content and your server was offline for maintenance, and that's when Googlebot tried to get to your pages, you'll go to search, and the next thing you'll see is your syndicated sources are ranking for your content instead of you. They didn't steal your content. You had routine maintenance, and that needs to get updated in Google before you come back. And so there's, dozens of these technical issues that can trigger that. And then, why would you want to use RSS? And really the main benefit is for early stage link building. It helps you turn content into backlinks. So if you can figure out the types of keywords that people are trying to syndicate content for, that they're actually doing this, you can accrue a lot of backlinks by taking advantage of those syndication systems. The other methodology is like if you're doing affiliate sales, then you can syndicate full articles that are, the most sought after and make them keyword rich in the niche that you want. And you put your offers and affiliate links into those full articles, and then you get those offers cast widely. So those tend to be like the two main reasons that people want to use RSS. And for the early stage link building, you can always turn it off later. Now, your early content will be out in the world syndicated, but once you feel you have enough, you turn it off and you keep all your content, localized on your website at that point. And then finally, this is my favorite thought experiment, is how would a black hat totally leverage the heck out of this system? So this is what I would do. I would create a plugin for WordPress that would allow me to write my posts in Syntax. And Syntax is a way of writing your content so that it can be randomized but still human readable. And a lot of the services out there do a crappy job, but if you do this manually crafted Syntax, you can actually make it so that it's perfect. It never makes an unreadable version. And then you spin your article for what you're hosting on your website, and you tune it for SEO. And the part where you need to really author your own plugin is this part. When you create your feed, your RSS feed, you only syndicate spun copies of your article, and you spin it for everyone who requests the article source. So every time you syndicate your article, you're syndicating a new unique copy into the world that'll hopefully never compete with your original. And so that right there is the invention in this approach. And then you target high demand keywords with your offers and backlinks. And that way you're sending out the keyword rich content, but it isn't competing with you. You're never competing with it. And it can also rank side by side. You could fill up the search results if you get enough people syndicating the same article. And then
where's the buy button?
What's that? Where's
the buy button?
Well, this plugin, it's similar to things I've made custom in the past. I've never seen it made as a WordPress plugin. So if you're a WordPress developer, this is probably gold. You'd probably sell, thousands of copies of this pretty quickly. And then, of course, if you want backlinks out of RSS, don't use the feed tracking URLs. There's a bunch of services out there that give you feed stats. Don't do it if you want the backlinks, because you're going to end up giving the stat systems the backlinks and not your website. So, guys, what do you think about all this? What are your thoughts?
So Ted, I'm pretty sure that halfway through, everybody went to their WordPress site and went into the source code and found that they have it, freaked out, went to Yoast, and they're hovering over the checkbox to turn it off. And all of a sudden you start talking about how you can use it for backlinks. And now they're like, oh, if I turn this off, am I going to screw myself by losing all my backlinks? Is this a good thing? So what's the balance here of I'm getting good backlinks out of this and I'm liking it, it's actually helping me, versus this is actually harming something?
If they're stealing your ranking, you're probably going to be pissed off. But it's a trade-off. If they're syndicating your content, it's more than likely they're linking back to your posts and you've gotten a backlink. So the question comes down to, are the people that are syndicating your content beating your rankings? And when that happens, here's how it typically happens. Somebody with the scraper site invests a ton in their on-page SEO. Like, they figured out how to dial it in, and they figured out how to do their link building. And here you are with your blog, and you've accidentally left syndication turned on, but your on-page tuning is crap, and you don't do any link building, and you haven't put a canonical tag on anything, And so they have an opportunity to discover your content, scrape it, and outrank you for it, simply because they're better at on page, they're better at building links, and they can canonicalize themselves, and you might not have canonicalized yourself at all. So at that point, it's very easy for Google to say, oh, well, this big website must have been the originator instead of this new website we just found now. And so I think a lot of this thing, the original source not ranking for their content, is, I think the most of it is going to be people with blogs who are accidentally syndicating. They're not tuning their for SEO on page well. They're not doing the link building. They might have forgotten to put canonical tags in. They've just shot themselves in the foot.
From another perspective, if you're doing a lot of, like, when I do content, right? I'm sure most people do, but my money pages are on pages in WordPress, and then my supporting pages are on posts. I would like them to rank, but the main purpose of my supporting pages is to have internal links for my money pages. And if my supporting pages are being syndicated to a bigger site and they outrank my content on my blog post with my own stuff, I don't know that I'd really care, because now they're also giving my money page a backlink that was probably more valuable to me than the post in the first place.
Yeah, and as a service provider with a blog, that's generally true. But as like an online retailer with a product, you may not feel so good about that. So I think every situation might be different depending upon what you're doing and what you want out of it.
If Google discovers your copy first, though, then you would get attribution, wouldn't you? Like if you submit, I don't know, inspect URL on your content before it gets scraped,
Well,
then do you gain canonical? Would you gain the canonicalization, or would you need to have the canonical tag specifically?
the last time I looked at the Google source code was never. So we would like to think that Google would do that and would do the right thing. But by Google's own admission, canonicalization is complicated, and even the canonical tag is viewed as only a suggestion. And so that kind of implies that, it's more complicated than that. And the fact that there are news stories about people complaining about the canonicalization is, kind of evidence that it goes sideways quite a bit.
Yeah, Ted, there was an exploit 2 to 3 years back where if two domains had the same content, it was almost the higher domain authority was the one that got attributed to it. So some black hats went out and started scraping just lots of low-level content, and then build themselves up, to page rank 1, page rank 2, page rank 3, and then as they kept moving up, they could scrape everybody below them and keep moving up the food chain. So they could build these massive sites with other people's content and outrank them with it. So Google had to close that down a while back, but that was one as recently as a couple of years ago that was out there.
Yeah, historically, there have been a few negative SEO attacks that were viable for knocking people out of search because of canonicalization. One of which was there's this thing about URLs. For any given URL, you can make that URL unique by adding things to it, and it'll serve up the same page, but there's an infinite number of possible URLs for every page. So for example, you could add an anchor text with random keys and unique URL. You could add an imaginary URL parameter, blah blah equals random keys, to the query string, and now it's a new URL. Still loads the exact same page, but there's an infinite possibility of different URLs for that page. And if you don't specify the canonical URL for that page, then somebody else could take one of those imaginary URLs and start building links to it, links they control. And if they build enough links, they can outrank you on the imaginary URL to your page instead of the original URL. And then once it's indexed, all they need to do is pull those backlinks they control out, and you fall out of the rankings until Google recrawls your website. Could be a week later, could be a month later. And so the way you would avoid those types of attacks is you would specify your canonical URL so that people couldn't create those fictitious URLs and try to knock you out. And in online retail, we found that knocking somebody out that way typically only required about 25 backlinks, because most product pages don't have any backlinks at all. So it's important that you do use your canonical URL tags whenever possible. It just eliminates a type of negative SEO exploit. And I don't know if that exploit is still viable today, but it was in the past for sure. So let me hop over to YouTube, and we will see. Stop sharing. We'll see if there are any questions. If you have any other thoughts, happy to hear them. All right, so we have a side question. I don't understand that side question from Jim Ken. So maybe you can rephrase it. I'm not sure what you're asking. See, Connor asks, what's to stop someone from stealing content, translating it, and ranking it in other countries? Generally, nothing. That's new content as far as I'm aware. When you translate it or paraphrase it, it gains uniqueness.
Yeah, it's unique in that the English version of Google didn't read the German version. As soon as you put it into Google Translate, it screws that uniqueness quality up, though, because Google kind of figured out what you did. So if you're going to do it, you need to do it with Bing and their translator.
Or paraphrase it before you Google Translate it.
Yeah. Follow Kyle's every third word or every 13th word, whatever that rule was for uniqueness.
Yep. So that looks like it on the questions. Let me switch to live chat. Sometimes we miss some. Also, if you operate an affiliate program, people can directly rank their affiliate link in the results if you don't take similar measures. You don't see that as much anymore. I think Google's kind of onto that practice. It still might be possible, but I'd imagine if you exploit it too much, they'd probably detect it and shut it down.
Or you're giving people an opportunity to launch, Jack, your own launch. Please take it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just remember that before you accuse people of being content thieves, be sure to check those settings, because you might feel a little bit foolish if you were, publishing to the entire World Wide Web to use your content. And, a ton of sites out there are built to do exactly that. So just keep in mind that for people to actually want to steal your content, has to have a pretty high bar to be that desirable. And so one way of preventing people from stealing your content, if they do steal it, is make your content more crappy. Problem will go away. Expert advice there. All right, guys. I think we have a show. Any final comments? You guys have any speaking engagements coming up?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to SEO Rockstars. If you haven't checked it out, there's a link inside of IMG, or you can go to seorockstars.xyz. Check it out. A lot of good speakers. Ted's going to be there. I'll be there, obviously. And then Brian Dean, Perry Belcher, Dixon Jones from Majestic and Inlinks. He's going to be there. And a bunch of other great speakers. And our keynote is going to be Mike Long, Eric Brief, and Michael Teslona. I know I'm screwing his name up, but they're going to talk about how during COVID, they started an agency right before everyone got locked down to sell AC stuff. And now their agency is making $50,000 a month. They're going to talk about how they did it. So we're excited to hear them.
Pretty cool. How about you, Kyle? You got anything coming up?
Yeah. SEO Mastery Summit is coming up in a couple weeks. Mad Singers, that's his conference. Friday, I was just looking it up. EGS Fall Edition.
Brendan.
I wish I had more information on my phone, but I don't. I feel bad now. Sorry, guys. So yeah, on Friday I'm speaking, but you won't be able to listen because I don't know where I am.
All right. Well, with that, we'll call it a show. Thank you, everyone.